Ben Begay, the reluctant co-developer of Marquette Island, has always loved this place because he views its forests and fields to be the embodiment of peace. And though he had to develop portions of the land to finance the purchase of the island, his guiding principle has always been to keep as much of the land in its natural state as is possible and to encourage others to see just how important the natural environment is. And to that end, he has convinced his partner Russ Kowalski to set aside a significant chunk of land for the development of a nature reserve. In Ben's view, seeing is believing, and walking through these lands will create conservationists out of everyone that visits this special space. The park could be dedicated to the state of Superior as a state park, and the state has already happily agreed to accept it. Russ agrees to this under one condition: that a small area nearby will be platted for homes targeted at lower and middle income residents that will staff all the tourist attractions on the island, including the park. Though the additional development pains Ben, he agrees, understanding that not everyone can live in the multi-million-dollar homes in Marquette Bay. So today, we're going to build this nature reserve, but before that, we're going to resolve some nagging issues with city services. And at the end, we'll make a couple adjustments to the island based upon your feedback, so stick around until after the city tour to see those changes. And if you like the idea of preserving a chunk of the island for a nature reserve, hit the like button. And if you prefer clear-cutting the forest just to watch the world burn, hit the like button for that too. And let me know what your favorite nature reserve is in the comments. Maybe even drop a link to its map on Google Maps, or just leave an emoji of a tree. Either way, it helps increase the reach of the video since it's engagement. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building Marquette Island in Nicolet Bay, and we've got a fun one today. I'm really excited to build a nature reserve, but we've got to take care of a couple of nagging issues before we have some significant problems. And those problems are related to death care and some of our other city services. And generally, this island is having some problems. The main reason for that is that we have some broken pathfinding. So right now, we've got this police station right here, and it's receiving calls from the entire map. It's being told, why don't you go over here and resolve a problem? And every time that happens, we're seeing police cars despawn. So as a result, if we take a look at this right now, we got 2 police cars in service. That number is going to kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down, and the cars will despawn. We just saw it go from 3 to 2. So this is something that is very solvable with a mod. I looked at Transfer Manager CE and Transfer Controller. They operate a little bit differently. Transfer Manager works a little bit more globally, and Transfer Controller really operates in a fine-grained way and allows you to keep a service occurring within a district. That's perfect for what we're doing here because I can say that the service area is the island, which I've already created a district over. So we're going to prefer a local district for the police station and enable district restrictions for both the building and the prisoners. So they'll keep those both here. Now we need to go ahead and select our available district. So I'll say Marquette Island, move that over here. Do the exact same thing here. So now the dispatch area for the police cars and for the prisoners is Marquette Island only. And I can even restrict the vehicles. I don't want a mobile command center vehicle or a supercar. We'll only go with a regular police car. Now, the other thing you can do with this mod is take a look at the open offers, which are basically calls for service. And you can see a couple of things here. You can see where there have been failures. So we can see that the Elizabeth residence is a place that this particular police station received a call. If we click on that, we can see that this is actually over in Evergreen. Clearly, this would be a problem. So this is what we're trying to prevent with this mod, and we've now restricted this. Now, there are a couple of things that are nagging issues, and I spent a lot of time resolving this. The warehouse yard is right here, and this is one of the issues that we have. Now, something is broken with this particular roadway segment, and there's a way to fix it, and it's bizarre. I'm going to select this node, hold down Alt. We'll make it a nice curve because why not? And then, for whatever reason, to reset the pathfinding, I'm going to upgrade this road to a different roadway type, and then I will go ahead and use my picker to bring this back. Now that will resolve all of the issues here. So very, very important that we do this. Now there is one thing to keep in mind. If we go into the mod settings, we'll see that we are blocking offers with recent pathfinding failures. So if we turn this off, it'll do a couple of things for us. First of all, I can now come over here click on the police station, and when I go to open offers, I can no longer see the failure. So I'm going to speed this along, and I just want to see if we have a resolution over here. I believe that we should. It's just going to take a minute. We actually see it already. Here we go. It's still in there, warehouse yard. Let's see if this actually gets resolved. And look at that. We see some police cars coming this way, and they resolve all of our problems. Now, I see this garbage issue, and we're going to resolve it, but that is going to be at the end of the episode. We can deal with that one for just a little while. I do want to go over here and make the exact same modifications to both our healthcare post office and our fire department. The last thing we want is our fire department not to work correctly because it's trying to respond to a fire on the other side of the bay. Okay, so now you can see that these buildings have had their settings modified, and you can tell that because they are highlighted. So now that I can see those, I know that those have specialized settings applied. Now I'm going to need to go through the rest of the build and look at some of these special buildings and apply these sorts of settings. So that could be something that we do in a stream. Why don't you let me know in the comments? Would you prefer that I do that off camera or during a stream where we can chat about life and general things? Let me know. And now that we've got that done, we need to resolve our next issue, which is actually way across the strait in Evergreen. And actually, it's kind of this part of the map generally. So if we look right here, we've got our cemetery and it is almost full. So this is a significant problem for us because we've only got one crematorium right here. That's all that we have. So you already see that I have the cryopreservatory highlighted and I'm inclined to place one here. So what we're going to do is find an empty parcel, and it stinks that right now what looks like the easiest place to develop would be is right along the coast. This is a less than desirable location because of the one-ways, but it happens. So let's go ahead. We'll get rid of these trees here, and then we'll place a cryopreservatory right here on an arterial. Not the greatest location, but you've seen things like this. I have as well. And I'm going to leave a space there because I think that there's an opportunity for a path, and this would be the time for the city to get it. You get it before you approve this development, because once it's approved and once it's built, you're never going to have it happen again. Even along the other side, they're going to fight you tooth and nail. Right now, you can get those exactions. So let's go ahead and place that path. Okay, and right now is when you need to remember the limitations of the game. So I'm going to go right here. We'll add a crossing, and this will allow people from the path to either leave and get to the park without walking all the way down around here, or, from this other path over here, which we never added that crossing in for either. So I think it's a good thing generally. And look at, folks are already using this. It already has some value. So we've got to add another death care facility here in Couillard Shores as well. We have the exact same issue, except that I think things are more dire over here. Yeah, look at that. 3,000 folks stored here already. It's such a dark way of putting it, but it's the way that it's labeled. So we're going to go with it. Now we've got some land right here that we could use. It's fairly flat and there's not really anything here besides good views. So I think that this being kind of a collector would be a fine location for this. The only problem is there's conflict with buses, but again, that's probably not the end of the world. So we're gonna add one right here. And we've got this power line right here. I'm inclined to leave it, which is why I placed this building over there and just use move it to pull it over here. I think it's fine. You see power lines in front of buildings sometimes, and that's quite all right. So we're gonna roll with it, and this will probably immediately get some use. Yeah, we've already got one hearse in use. Now, the final thing I wanna do is take a look at our landfills. You can see that these are full. Why not just start to empty these? It'll likely create some trash issues in the short term, but in the long term, this is going to be all for the better for this area. So we're just going to empty these. It'll take some time. Obviously, we could get cheeky with it and collapse the building or use move it to delete these, but let's just play with the game's mechanics. So let's come back over to Marquette Island and talk about the nature reserve. First thing I want to do is go ahead and actually draw this space. Now, I want to capture a few things here. First, I really think that this vista is going to be really important. So this is going to be an absolutely impressive view. And that's one of the things about the Great Lakes is they're not oceans, but they feel like it. So that's going to be an important view to preserve. I want to have paths all the way around this field, and I want to find a way to liven this up. So there are many state parks that I go to where you have this kind of a design where you initially walk out, and if you want to stay in a relatively sunny location, you can walk around here. Sometimes they'll have runs in these locations, and then you'll have some of these paths cut off into the woods. And we've got this little lake up here. And when I was designing the map, I saw that this is actually on the Mackinac Island, and I just fell in love with the idea of this. We're going to take advantage of this, and I think this could be an excellent camping site. So the other thing that we're going to need to think about is we are going to potentially make a big cul-de-sac up here. That's not going to work. So we're going to need to think about how we get down from here as well. And that's going to be a bit of a struggle. But I think it's really important that we consider this, because otherwise people could get trapped up here. One way in, no ways out. Let's go ahead and we're going to make this park area. And this is going to be a monstrous park. Now, in terms of the entire size of the island, this is a massive chunk of the island. But it's like that for a reason. This is a preserve. Now, one thing we are going to need is a name, and I need your help with that. So if you have an idea for a name, drop it in the comments, and I will gladly take your ideas. All right, we're going to look at where we're going to have our neighborhood that we're going to plat, and we're going to put that right about here, I believe. So what we'll do to get that kicked off is we're going to take our pedestrian district, pull that over here, and then I just want this to extend out here so we don't lose track of it. Now, the interaction between this pedestrian district and the park is something that we're going to have to be aware of. Park areas and pedestrian areas do not play nicely together, which means that our garbage trick will not work here. We're going to have some sort of garbage receptacle in this area to serve the park. Otherwise, garbage will just pile up at the entryway, which stinks, but it's one of the things we'll have to take liberties with. So I want to add in a road here, and what we're going to do is take this road that we have right here and redirect it, because I do think that the primary movement at this point would be into the park. So I'm going to grab this and pause this for just a moment, because we're going to break all of our bus routes, and then I'm going to turn on our contours so we can see where our park entry point will be, and that'll be somewhere over here. And then if we follow our contours, we bring this around here and down in this location. And the reason why I'm going here is there's kind of a natural slope that leads to this movement, and we're just respecting our topography and following our terrain. There we go. We've got our little road going up, and our through movement makes sense. Now, one of the comments that was brought up is that these lights don't make a ton of sense. We're going to fix that. So now we need a park entrance, and we want to go with our main gate. We'll place that right here. We're going to move it, spin this bad boy around, and pull it right there. And look what this does. This is the way it should be. You go straight in, and then we can connect our path up right there. So that is a perfect entryway in. We're going to need some power and water here to serve this. Very good. And now I'm going to level this out. Oh, that is very good. So I want to have one way in here, and we'll run this back, attempting to respect our topography, and then we're going to branch out from here. Now, I'm going to run this all the way down, and remember, we're trying to get way back here so we have a viewpoint, and I'm going to go right along the outside here using our freeform tool. Now, here's where we're going to have some sort of viewing deck, and now I want to also have this path go out and loop back around. There we go. And I could see this being awesome for cross-country skiers as well, if that is something that you're into. Now back here, I'm going to tuck away some campsites eventually. So we will add a path back here. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to kind of tuck things away. We're going to add some cut throughs so that you could make your way through and have a shorter loop, and really think about how people would use this space. So here, we're going to again have some more campsites, maybe even an overlook in this location. Oh, the bridge. That would be awesome. So we'll definitely have that here. And then this is going to be our most special location in my mind. So we'll send a path back here. Now remember, this is a walking path. You can have more extreme slopes. There are requirements if you want to make it an accessible path, and you do need to be mindful of just how steep the slopes are if you want it to be accessible for those in wheelchairs or walkers or things of that nature. That said, when you're looking at a path like this, You don't need to make every single one of them accessible. You do need to have some though. And then we're going to tuck away some campsites back here. So we will run paths back here. And then we need to have some nature walks where you're actually walking in the forest, because right now you're basically in fields the entire time. So we're going to have another connection over to these paths and try to meander our way around and actually make our way back through. So we are going to make a connection here, send this down, and then follow our terrain lines. And maybe we actually meet up down here. I like that idea. I really like that. And then we can have some campsites back there as well. Now, there's not many reasons to visit this. Right now, if we take a look, we have 110 entertainment. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I do want to think about the policies so that we start getting people in here well before we place anything in this area. So we're going to make this a main park. We're going to advertise it. We're going to recycle things because, again, we have that trash problem that we know we're going to have here already. And I want a fine for fireworks, so we don't have fireworks in here. Doesn't sound super safe. So here we go. I'm going to lower the price of this too. We'll make it 3. I want to draw as many visitors here as possible. The other thing that I want to think about is transportation to get here. And I don't know if this dirt path is going to do it for us. So the reason why I'm a little bit leery of that is, first of all, the speed. We're going to need to change the speed of the roads here. And then the other concern is that it's just really far. We don't have any way to get up here using transit. So we're going to need to think about that. Otherwise, no one's going to come to our park. We're going to start out with a bike path. The bike path will be the fastest way for a pedestrian to get here. So let's do that first. We will go into the network multi-tool and use the create parallel mode. And we can basically start that from right here, bring that right over. And I want to run that right on the side of the road here. So I'll need to make a connection here. That's not a big deal. And then we'll just run it up the side here again. And I'm selecting all of the intersections. You have to, you can't miss those. And then we'll stop that right here at the nature reserve. So I will select this by hitting enter. We've entered this. You know, it's not bad actually. If it weren't for these node issues, I'm not sure if I can fix that. So all of these little blobs are where there are nodes, but besides that, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go through and just see if I can get rid of those. So we'll come into our surface painter, go into a single brush and just see if I can, you know what? It's not perfect, but I think I'm just going to take a moment and dab these out of the way. Looking good, not looking perfect, but looking good enough. Now, the next thing I want to do is, these lights are just terrible. And right on the side here, we have network skins, and I can change the lights just for these segments of road. First of all, I guess we're looking at our bike path. We'll say none for these. All right, already looking better. And now I want to do the exact same thing here with our path, but I want to do it a little bit differently. So here we are going to have lights, but I want to have lights that are a little bit more rural in nature. So I'm going to go with the nature reserve street light, and we're going to make the distance very large. So again, we'll set our time of day to midnight, and then let's upgrade these. You know what? I really don't like where it's showing up. I wonder, actually, if I go into Bob, can I move this light? Oh, I can. So here's what we're going to do. We'll come back in here. We'll add this light, and then we'll use Bob to move it. So now we're leaving a pretty decent space in between these. You can see it's roughly double what it was before. Okay, yeah, that is a ton more reasonable. That is a ton more reasonable. So now we just have one more fix to these lights before we're done with them. And that is, again, Bob. You're going to grab that street light and just use our offset to move this over. And it's facing in the right direction. You can see that it's changed them for all of these. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. And then we will accept it so we don't lose our changes. but that just puts all of these in the right location. And look at this. We've got some Phillips walking up the hill. There we go. One more transportation related issue though, and that is, how do you get up here? So let's say you are Philip. Are you just gonna always walk up here to get to the nature reserve? That seems pretty darn extreme. I guess you could bike up here with your dog. That's another option. But I think that most people would take our horse buses. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna plan a horse bus for up here. So I'm gonna create a line up here. I'm gonna leave a stop right here. And then we're gonna have maybe one stop in the core of our community. And we might even get that on the way back down. We'll add a stop right here by our harbor. And then we will just connect this up right here. We've got to make sure though that we're not spawning buses here. And this is the Marquette Island local. So we're gonna make this the nature reserve, and we will make this one black. So we'll get some black horses, and then we'll have our horse buses. And all of these transit vehicles that just spawned will have to go away. Let's get some things in our nature reserve to make this an attractive place to hang out. First and foremost, I want our viewing deck. So we'll place this here, then we'll use move it and spin this around. Place this so that you actually get a good view. And now you are the king of the world. So, or queen of the world, whatever. Right there. Absolutely wonderful. And we'll add another viewing deck over here. We'll use a different one just for the sake of variety. I don't know that that's how a park would look at it. They would probably say, you know, we want this to be easy to service, so we're gonna have the exact same viewing deck all over the park, but you know, it's a game. We'll take some liberties. That is just awesome. Imagine being able to take a look at the bridge from this viewing deck. Splendid. And now I want to have some tent camping, and we'll bring some of those sites back here. So what we're going to do is just add some tentacles off from here, some cul-de-sac sort of deals. And then I'm going to grab these. We'll spin it around and set that up way back here. There you go. Some nice secluded campsites. Let's get some trees around here. We'll go into our Marquette brush and whoa, we'll go ham. Oh yeah, I love that. This is the kind of place I'd like to hang out. I love camping. If I haven't never mentioned that, I very much enjoy camping, and this is something that I would absolutely dig. A little bit of privacy, a little bit of seclusion, not too far from civilization. Perfect. Now through here, we want to use some of our pond assets, our fishing cabins, but you got it to level 4 reserve. And I'm not worried about our entertainment value as much as I am worried about our ability to actually get to level 4 with visitors. So in the meantime, I do want to we'll add some of these camping sites, the cabins, small cabins. I think that would be an excellent amenity. And this would be some of the premier sites around here. So we will definitely add that right here. Oh, just imagine this. You're here, you're camping, and you get that view of the water with the water behind it. That is awesome. Absolutely lovely. Now through here, we've got to add a lot of stuff. We've got a tent camping site, and I've wanted to bring that over here. So this is kind of like a group or a family camping area. I think that would be very nice to have. So we'll add a couple of those over here. And this one will even have some pretty decent views. For this one, we're gonna use move it. We'll spin this around, put this at the end of the road. And then this one will back off here. Very good. And let's level this a bit. This is a good demonstration of why sometimes you gotta make the topography respect you. There we go. Sometimes you'll go to a park like this and you just wanna have a picnic. And when you wanna have a picnic, you just need a shelter to go to. Sometimes you check these out, you have a family reunion there, or maybe you even have a kid's birthday party there, whatever you want to do. These are generally found closer to the entrance so that if you're pulling a bunch of stuff in here, you don't have to walk far with it. So we're going to place those over here, and I'll place a few of these, and then we're going to steal a climbing frame if we can. I don't know if we have that unlocked, but I'd love to have a climbing frame from the city park. We don't have that unlocked. What a bummer. And then I never added any campfires near the tent camping over here, so I'm gonna add just a couple of those. feel like that's pretty normal to have those right at the campsites. And then we need outhouses, and these are going to need to be in a few different locations. So we will add outhouses kind of near the beginning of our camp area. And then a place to get firewood, because normally you can't bring firewood, at least where I am, from outside the county. It's actually illegal. If you were to do that, you get in some pretty significant trouble. And then we'll have a place to get water as well. We'll back that out from the porta potties, because that would be gross. So there we go. So I think that these other assets already have them built in. Yeah, you can see that there are porta potties with water right next to it, because I guess that's what some people want. Now they do have some children's amenities in here, and that makes me think maybe I should just get a little bit creative and make my own children's playground. That would be another way to handle that in that area. We're not going to get credit for doing this, for adding these props, but it would be a way to accomplish what I want. So I think we'll just add in some playground equipment. And we'll add some picnic tables kind of off to the side randomly. So this really is the designated picnic area. Now through here, we're going to go ahead and add some of this gravel. Good enough. Good enough. I dig it. So now we've got a functional little park here, and I want to see what our entertainment value is. We're at 868. That is good enough to get us to our next level or two. What we are going to struggle with is visitors. And you can see I've been simulating this at the fastest level, and we are still only at 71 visitors. So we're going to need to do something about that. I want to do one last finishing touch sort of deal here though. And that is, I feel like these field areas are just a little barren and uncomfortable. So what we're going to do is go into our forestry brush. I'm going to go into new brush, and I want to look up the grasses. We have our tall grass cluster. We're going to make the size of this pretty big, and then our strength all the way to the top. And what I want to do is just kind of spray these grasses through here. Now, this is going to be something where you just got to take my word for it for the time being, because it's not going to look good from above. And sometimes you've got to not worry about the way that your map looks from 2,000 feet in the air, because that's not the way the world is experienced. The world is experienced right at the ground level. So clearly that's going to be the most important view that you have, is the ground level view. So I've added that. Now I'm going to come take this brush size down, and let's add in a few paths through here. So in a lot of the state parks in my area, there will be not just the formal path, but also the informal path, or I guess it is kind of formal because the park will cut these through. But it's just another way to experience the park. And for runners, I think in particular, this is really beneficial because it can be easier on their joints than actually running on a path. I only know that because my wife is a very avid runner. I am not. So I'm adding this here. And now when you come in at the ground level, so experiencing this as someone would, it looks pretty good. Now we could almost make this an oak savanna by adding in some of our oaks. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's feel this again. And we're at the ground level. We're on a path. Oh yeah, that feels good. And I'm surprised at how many people are biking around here, but it's working. It's doing the trick. Feels like there's things happening here. Now, obviously we could add more landscaping, but you don't need to get super crazy with it for it to feel pretty darn good. I saw that fire there, and I will admit I was afraid. And one more tree for good measure. There we go. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Let's take a look at Green National Park. Again, need a name for that. 173 people here. We're moving in a positive direction. I'm going to let this go for just a little bit. I'd love to see this thing get to level 2. So why don't we let this run for a minute, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've let this run for a while, and we still are nowhere near reaching level 2. So I think that this could be a good opportunity to build that new neighborhood. and then use that neighborhood as a bit of a catalyst to actually get people into the park. In fact, I could see this new neighborhood being one of the driving factors in it. And our garbage problem is starting to become such an issue that we might need to start to think about that. So we'll get to that in a moment. That said, let's look at our contours. And what we're going to do is run a roadway connection up here and have something super basic. And when I say road, you know what I mean. We're not doing a real road. We're going to go ahead and add in one of our pedestrian roads. And I'm putting this right down the middle of this flat contour here. Now, the one thing I want to think about is, again, this is a cul-de-sac. We're going to limit its length for the time being because of that. In the future, if this would want to have more development down it, we would need to modify this and ensure that there is a way out. So I want to, first of all, give each of these homes a driveway and a sense of seclusion and privacy. We're just going to send these back. These are driveways, and then we'll give them enough space. And one of the reasons I think that larger lots make sense back here is that these folks are going to be relatively secluded. They'd have to be relatively self-sufficient. And you think that it might take more space to be self-sufficient. And we're not going to place a house back here. That is where the road is stubbed in for future development. And look at this. We've got our lights showing up just like they were before. I love it. So now we're going to go through and use our tags to grab our evergreen buildings. So I think that these are going to fit in absolutely lovely here. So I'm just going to select one, and then we'll use our modifier to randomize these. And this is really important that I at least in my estimation, that we place these manually, because I want to place them at the end of this driveway here. I'm placing these on the road right next to the driveway so that I can just pull the building back. So one there, and we'll just keep going and doing this. And now I'm lining, even though these don't have cars, we're lining the driveways up to be at the end of this road. And a house like this actually makes a ton of sense here. Remember, we got to Control H these to the node so they actually line up nicely. But it makes a ton of sense to have these that don't actually have a garage. Kind of feels weird to have the garage, but you know, I imagine that some people would have it for a wood workshop or something of that nature. And now, since we're spending so much time here, let's just add that little extra touch of realism. There is a whole bunch of pavement on some of these, and I hate it. So we'll get rid of some of the pavement and add in gravel. Okay, so we've got all of these done, and it feels pretty good to me. We do have to remove some of these trees. Again, we had our collision off, so just something to be aware of. And then we could add some of these back in through using our Marquette brush. And then it's funny, you know, I could use just a utility box to power up this entire neighborhood, but this doesn't feel like the kind of neighborhood that would have buried utilities. So as a result, just for the sake of realism, we're going to go ahead and use our rural utility line. I'm going to turn off all the snap twos and we'll run this right down to the park. Okay, and by all the way down to the park, I meant actually we'll take this all the way to the cemetery because apparently that's what was needed over here. So there we go. We're connected there. We should be connected with power over here now. We just need water. And I think we're going to do something pretty unsavory, and we are going to add in some sort of recycling center back here. We just need it for the functionality's sake. I'm going to try to figure out a mod that will help me use some other sort of garbage collection over here. If we could find a horse garbage truck, I would be just thrilled. And because this is a super rural area, I've gotten rid of much of the pavement through here, and we're just throwing gravel all around it. And the nice thing about gravel is it's messy. So if you aren't perfect with these, it doesn't really matter. Now there are these parking stalls here. I could get rid of them, I'm going to just leave it. It's going to be fine. I'd still like to see, well, actually, I wouldn't like to see parking here, but at the other ones across the water, they're going to need that parking. So we'll leave it there. Now, I'm noticing that we've got some really slow speeds here. So we need to check out TMPE to see if there's anything that we can do to fix this. So let's go in TMPE and look at our speeds. And I want to set our defaults because right now I have been setting this by segment. So we're in miles per hour. And as much as I hate to do this, I think for the sake of the game's mechanics, we're going to set the speed to 20 everywhere. So that'll change it in every single roadway segment that looks like this one. The speed will be 20 now. And then the consequence is when you go look at the individual segment speeds, now they're all adjusted. So we've got 20 all the way around here. And that should make things a bit more functional in these parts. All right, now let's pop back over and see how things are doing over here. 258 visitors. So it's going to be a slow crawl towards the 500 that we need to actually level up the park. It's going to take some time, and that's quite all right. And I think sometimes you've just got to accept that things aren't going to happen on your time frame, but that over time, this will level up and we'll have to keep an eye on it. And there's a couple of things. Again, I want to add in some of our fishing piers through here so that we can have some fishing and really finish this area out. But for the most part, I'm pretty pleased with this. Now, the one thing that I'm not pleased with is we currently have a pretty significant cul-de-sacking situation. So I do think before we tour the city, we're going to have to resolve our cul-de-sac issue. And we've got one here as well. This is a major cul-de-sac that ends with this, which doesn't have a, oh boy, I know why we're having multiple issues. This isn't actually on a road. So let's get this moved. I know already that we're going to move this over here. So temporarily, I'm just going to take it over here. We'll adjust this near the end of the episode. Hopefully that resolves our garbage issues for the time being. All right. So what I want to do is go ahead and de-cul-de-sac this by connecting up this road right here with this road right here. So let's get that road going. And remember, this road is not a big deal. We don't have motorized traffic. So really, it's like adding another path through here. It's just not in the park. Now, this, in my estimation, would simply be a path that is built to standards that could handle a fire truck. So that happens all the time. I am going to be really mindful about where our switchbacks are gaining and losing elevation. So around the corners, because this is going to be built so that it can handle a fire truck, we want to make sure that we're not dropping our height there. So on the corners, we're going to keep it relatively level and flat. And then we'll pop into our network multi-tool and slope things off. Now, interestingly, we have one of our horse buses deciding that this is the right, all of our horse buses deciding that this is an excellent path. That is not something I was intending to happen. We're going to have to take a look at that. Okay, looking good there. I think that we also would need to add a fence along the outside and then maybe soften the terrain in just a couple of locations. Okay, so I think that this looks pretty good now, but we need those fences. So let's go ahead and grab a nature reserve fence. And you might be a little surprised that I haven't used those at all yet. And I just think that in this particular location, it's not super necessary to fence things in. So why add fences that aren't needed? So I'm going to add these through here, tab this over, keep it nice and tight to the path. All right, so we've got this. Wow, yeah, they're coming all the way down here and looping around. So what this tells me is that they need a segment, a turnaround segment, or we need to move this stop. And I'm just going to add this right here, and we can pretend that it's another way to get to, actually to get to this garage. I kind of like that. In fact, maybe we actually take this, which is our depot. We spin this around and we move this right in here. Yeah, I love that. That makes a ton of sense. And now instead of all the horses coming around here, they'll just loop around right there. That is wonderful. We are in a pretty good spot here. I think what we need to do is take inventory of what we've done and have a brief city tour. And that was a nice city tour, but we've got a couple of issues that we need to resolve, many of them from the comments, and one of them I just noticed. I've seen a couple of cars driving around the island, and they're not cop cars, it's just regular people deciding that the island is an excellent place to drive, and you are wrong, folks. You are not going to drive around here. So what we're going to do is go into TMPE and have some vehicle restrictions again. Now, I forgot these. We've got to do this. It's something I wish I could do for this entire roadway type, but I can't. So now the cars should all despawn and everyone's forced to walk again. Lovely. All right, and now for a few of your comments. And the first one I want to take is from Jordan Linton, who says that we should consolidate all of the services onto this little harbor area. They actually live on a place just like this, and that is what happens. It makes it more ripe for rural nature reserve sorts of builds. And it makes a lot of sense. So we're going to absolutely do that. We've done a bit of that already, but we didn't do a very good job. I want to clean this up, and we're going to add in some of our city services over here, public works sorts of things. So we've got this inland water treatment plant down here. You might not think that this is a problem, but this is a problem because it means that cop cars and garbage vehicles are going to come out here to try to service this one building out here by itself. So this will be the third time that we call a mulligan on our inland water treatment plant, and we'll move that right over here. So to handle this, what we're going to do is go ahead and level out a bit more of this. And I'm going to scoot this over just a bit. And then I'm going to grab this roadway segment here and pull this up with anarchy on so that we have free range of movement. And our little harbor here is making everything a little bit challenging. So I'm going to actually get rid of the quay wall here. That is much better. And now hopefully we can take this road. Yeah, and now it clips very nicely. Very good. And then we'll get rid of our trees here. And I'm going to consolidate this building right here. And then I've added a bit of space right here for our wastewater treatment as well. So this will go along, and I apologize. Whoa. We are having a bit of a fire. I was actually about to say that I think we need to move this because we're putting a bunch of noxious uses next to our elderly care facility, but it looks like it tried to take care of it for me. Pull this right in here and scoot this over, and we've got that reconnected, so we should be safe there. So now we've got this nice little facility. Maybe nice is the wrong word. We've got a facility here and it should be functional and work well for us. What we're going to do now is try to hide it. And we'll add in a fence as well. And basically what we've done here is make it more challenging to see all of this stuff that no one wants to see. There we go. And we Control H some things into place, made it line up a little bit better. And at least if you're down here now and you're looking out, you're not seeing this quite as much. Now, the next comment I want to address is from Cashoff, who said that for the homes on Marquette Island, consider moving them closer to the road with Move It so that their staircases touch the path versus walking on tiny strips of grass. And I love that idea. So I'm going to go through here and pull all of the buildings a little bit closer to the roads. And then as we pull them right up here, Control H them into the road so that everything lines up nicely. Okay, Cash, if that was an excellent suggestion, I think it looks a lot better. Now, I did see some suggestions that perhaps these buildings should be in the opposite direction. I actually disagree with that one. I think it's okay to have the rear of your home have the best view. That said, one thing that I did do was take all of those views away, and they burnt down. So what I think we need to do here is be a little bit more judicious with our landscaping. So I'm going to go ahead. These buildings, they're fine. They're fine. But the ones back here, we need to really think about our landscaping and not just kind of scattershot it all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to place in just a couple of trees really thoughtfully in each of these backyards. And that seems better to me. So if you were in this house, well, you don't have a view. But some of these other ones you would. So I will take that and roll with it. And obviously you could always do a little bit better, but it's a start. It's a start, and we will keep improving as we go along. And the next one is from Tierev, and I apologize if I got that wrong, but basically the gist of their comment is that many of these buildings in the seaside resorts only have one household. Now that is actually not right, but it makes a good point, and that is that I did not necessarily adjust all of these to make a ton of sense. So the Avid Hotel has one household. These ones right here hold 10. And I do think that that makes some more sense. So what we're going to do at a minimum, if you look, let's look at some of these other houses that we just placed. This one has 2. So that's just kind of the way that the game operates, is you'll see more households in these. So I do think that we're going to go through here and just increase the number of households and have at least 2 in every building. So to do this, we'll go into our Rico settings and change the number of workers, and we'll have at least 3 in every building. Okay, so now we have a whole bunch more through here, and that's going to be really helpful because we don't have a lot of actual physical buildings through here, but now we've got a ton of households available, so we'll increase our population here. You can see it going up already, which is a good thing. And then lastly, I want to address Garrett Coulter's comment, which was the island really needs lighthouses on the peninsulas, and I agree. There we go. That is awesome. That is a great suggestion, Garrett, and I appreciate that. Now, we can see that we're starting to have some other problems, and I'm guessing this is due to the new mod that we brought into the build. For whatever reason, we're not getting commercial goods. Editor fill here, and the problem with the goods was pretty simple to resolve. All you basically have to do is click on this, and we have to go back into Traffic Controller, allow imports, and prefer local district, and then set the permitted districts as being Marquette Island. So what I think was happening with all of these areas is that they're making calls again over from the mainland, and that's just not going to work. The moment I did that, it immediately spawned a vehicle. So I think that we're in a good spot, and now you see that we've got a barge coming back here with a full load. So that was the solution. Just had to make sure that we have the settings for Traffic Controller correct. Holy cow. Now we've got things happening. There we go. And I want to take one last check at our park. Look at that. We've hit level 2, 594 visitors. And to get to level 3, we have plenty of entertainment. We just need more visitors, and that's going to take a while. But I think for today, we're going to leave it here. I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And it's really a privilege to bring these episodes to you. Thank you so much for joining me today and for hanging out. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.